to forget about, really.
Yeah, it is always it's what's so fun, I guess, when like people retire, though, isn't it? Is that they never really retire, and TLO is just right now the epitome of that idea.
Yeah.
He's like he retires, then he's like, I'm just gonna qualify and then continue.
Yeah.
Doing okay. I mean, he's not doing super amazing, but to defeat Neve, I guess that actually is kind of amazing.
You know what it is as well, though? It's because all the Liquid players have Liquid in front of their names, right? So because of that, I never don't say it's Liquid Clem, right? Because they always have Liquid in front of the name. So I've really, every time I've said TLO on an intro, as we have a Cannon Rush, so we'll talk about this in a sec, it's been with that Liquid, so I apologize if I misspoke. All right, Cannon Rush CG, let's talk about it.
Yeah, so I said that I think it's not just going to be TLO making things weird, but also Asuna, and I was pretty right about that. So that is a Gateway Forge Cannon Rush. It's not like the quickest thing, but still in time to certainly delay the hatchery or get it killed, which, you know, with TLO letting it finish, he is going to actually try and hold on, but it is 2 cannons, well protected behind pylons. He actually thinks he can hold this. A 3rd cannon even going down. I mean, it's a little less protected now, but...
Yeah. It was kind of weird because TLO actually got a pylon kill to get through to the cannons, and then he didn't move, so it got blocked again. It's like, well, what were you aiming for, TLO? Like, if you pull the drones to kill that pylon that's building, but then you don't go for the kill? So I think that was obviously just a bit of a mistake, because Asuna is now going to block the 3rd base from going up as well, so blocks the potential follow-up. And of course, with all this, you know, happening from Asuna, he's looking to expand behind it. He's got the wall on the low ground, so he will look for a Nexus in the near future, and when he gets that Nexus up, it should be a pretty good setup for him, really. If you look at the way this has gone, he's already starting Warp Gate, a Stalker 2, making sure he's safe against units coming across the map. But yeah, I like this. Do you think 3 cannons were necessary? Maybe, actually, because that first one in the back isn't actually in range of the hatchery.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest difference. The second one in the back not attacking, and then this one gets taken down, and there's no 3rd one. Yeah, that would have been huge. That is kind of something to note, I guess, is that it did have to be that 3rd cannon, though. Like, ideally, you get this done with 2 cannons killed, or 1 cannon, and then they cancel, and you just cancel everything, too, and you kind of move on to their lives. So there's definitely some losses, some commitment on either side. I still feel like I like Asuna's position better. I feel like TLO's only got that thrown off more, having the hatchery finished, than even losing a drone. And having his 3rd also delayed a little bit.
Yeah, it's just extremely expensive for Asuna, right? I mean, that's, what, 650 minerals of cannons and pylons? Any pylon blocked? I mean, the Nexus now is about halfway done, but TLO's hatchery to the side will finish, so I don't know. You look at resources lost here, it's definitely cost Asuna more. Of course, TLO pulled some drones earlier. Yeah, I don't know. The fact that Warp Gate and Stargate's already finishing, though, like, feels as though Asuna is really kind of on track with where he's going from here on out, so I do like that part of this, is this cannon will finally go down. And TLO's got a little drone here that's just chilling beneath an Overlord.
Just chilling, yep. All right, so finally able to access 3 bases. That is nice. And Asuna did, you know, not get the fastest Nexus that he really could have behind that, so only literally just finishing. But he did have a bit of an economic lead for a little while. I was going to say something else I noted, but I kind of forgot right now. Regardless, Oracle follow-up, see if you can get any damage done. And then with an Oracle follow-up, which is what TLO was able to actually see, too, 1, it shouldn't do very much damage. And 2, it should be just a kind of a clear sign for TLO to drone at least until X time. Like, he does have to worry a little bit, I suppose, about something following this up. But, for instance, even the Bailey Nest, I'm actually surprised to see that this quickly, when it feels like he could be just using it to drone and build up his natural or would-be natural. Gets 2 drones and gets severely injured, and exactly ideal for that Oracle.
That's what I was going to say. The Oracle gets hurt a lot, right? And especially when that's your only Oracle, because you're going into Void Ray after. It's just scary, because if you want to try and tag for Revelations and stuff, now it's just that little bit risky. I don't think it's immediately going to be an issue against just Queens, right? But something to keep in mind. So, I mean, there's definitely no chance of this Oracle, you know, continuing out and staying on the map and being aggressive anymore. But that's not necessarily a bad thing either, because now you can use the Oracle defensively to help against stuff like this. You know, keep it at home, help against these Lings, and well, that's not really needed here. I feel like that was an unnecessary activation of the Oracle energy. I feel like the 4 depths might have been okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think it's actually kind of important to note because we have more Lings on the way. Now it goes back into droning. You know, he's got +1 on the way. It's not going to be an all-in or anything like that. But it is going to be something where he's looking for a delay, deny, straight up kill on that 3rd Nexus. Possibly. It's a lot of lings coming across the map, but I think maybe it's already time. It's already past time to actually do damage. Oracle's starting to regain energy. Adepts are being warped in. They kind of found a pocket. I'm going to go after the natural.
This is very TLO-esque, honestly. Like, TLO loves to make lings when it doesn't really make sense for a lot of other people to play lings, and then he likes to keep that being very aggressive all the way throughout the game. And yeah, it's, to me, this is almost like I'm watching like the TLO I expect to watch in ZVP. You almost forget about it until he does it, and then you're like, oh yeah, like, this isn't weird to me because I've watched him do this before. So just, you know, adding lings in, and, you know, it can catch people off guard. Now he's getting some Banes. It's not enough to fight off that many Adepts, though, so something to be cautious about. We also have Voids heading to the natural. Of course, Adepts don't have Glaives, so they're not as powerful as what we've seen Adepts being earlier, perhaps, but still a good threat.
Well, now that Asuna is actually going to use his Adepts, I feel like TLO having his Banelings, having his Lings, might be able to not just bop this, which it's pretty much doing, but then also go across the map and once again threaten that third base. At least the probes that are on it would not be bad, as +1 is also, I think, going to finish as he moves across the map. It's going to be a Spire, which could get a little bit weird. 3 Void Ray show itself after showing 2, but I don't think TLO has quite realized it is, in fact, double Stargate? No, actually, he did see it.
Did he really? Okay, so I don't actually
So it's an offensive one.
I don't really like the Spire against double Stargate nowadays because it's Void Rays, right?
Yeah.
So what are you going to build? Corruptors? Well, they're going to get prismatically aligned and they're going to melt. And then what else can you do? Like Mutas? Just why? That doesn't really make sense. You've got double Stargate if you want to make some extra Phoenix. The Voids actually aren't that bad against lower Muta counts either. So yeah, I don't really like the Stargate. Way prefer to see like a Hydralisk Den. As these Lings, though, getting aggressive. Obviously, the Voids are, you know, just now recalled. So, well, maybe finally start to come save the day. Those force fields have lasted forever, and they do save the sentries.
It was a surprisingly good defense. I mean, that's the...
Yeah.
We were kind of, you know, talking about that, and I feel like I was predicting maybe 6 or 7 probes to go down, and maybe the sentries as well. And instead, it was most things living, and then only 3 probes going down. Really good defense. But yeah, I like the way you explained it is exactly what I was thinking. It's like, oh, well, no, you don't go Mutas because it's 2 Stargates. Then we'll, you know, Corruptors. Oh, wait, no, but against Void Rays? Like, hold on. So yeah, you're spot on. I agree with that. I guess maybe there's that one point, though, where it's like if you are delaying their economy while getting your own great economy, it just becomes a numbers game anyways. And we'll see if that is what's going to happen. Banelings crash into a gateway not quite formed, and the probes a little late to the pull. Are eventually going to be, well, most of them are going to be saved anyways, but the rest of the army also going to go down before the shield battery is quite ready to go. Sentries finally die.
I like that little timing of the Banes running in. They got into like a good little position, didn't they? I like that. That was pretty good. A couple of these workers in that extractor just mining away the rich Vespine. A few Lings kind of running forward, but going to run into a cannon, so having to back away. There's a couple of Hydra Dens come up, so I feel like this isn't a mistake because it's TLO, so I feel like he just wants to go double Hydra upgrades. So yeah, I'm going to roll with it as these Banelings are going to have to roll on out of there. As they are going to try and finish. Cancels them all in the end.
He didn't really do anything with that Spire, did he? Maybe he didn't realize when he scouted was the second Stargate, but then he's seen how many Void Rays there are, so I find that difficult.
Almost like he built 3 Corruptors. He's almost like, yeah, let's go Corruptors. And he's like, whoa, no. Yeah,
I guess that was probably his reaction in his head. Gonna use 3, no, just 2 of the Corruptors to be on this building. All right. Overcharge the shield battery is gonna help out a lot against these +1 melee Lings. And while they will take out some static defense, I mean, overall, none of the greatest use of Lings. Corruptors are going to go down. That's a given with the amount of Void Rays. I
mean, honestly, that's the one thing in this game I feel like I was ready to understand. That Void Rays weren't going to kill those Corruptors. Otherwise, everything else has been super weird so far. I called the double upgrades on Hydra Dens. Nope, I was wrong. It's just 1 upgrade, so it was a mistake. Oh, this is the series has been just living up to the NA name a little bit, ZG.
A little bit, yeah. You know, I was totally with you too, and I was like, well, they're not in the same place, so maybe it is a mistake, but now he's using it anyways. It's not exactly perfectly timed, but all right, got to back up Hydralisk then.
Yeah, just in case. Back in the day, you used to milk the Lurker Den in as the Hydra Den, right? Like, before they were buildings. So maybe it was like, just in case you needed a double Lurker Den. Save the rebuild. He's just a few patches late on that one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we got Infestors on the way. I would love to see a Microbial Shroud, please. But right now it is just really fungal. I guess still worried a lot about the Void Rays. I mean, we're kind of getting to, I guess, a similar destination to other PVZs right now. The travel was a bit different. We took some, off the paths, but we're getting to kind of a similar, familiar situation.
Yeah.
Late game PVZ, but infestors aren't even that familiar anymore. No, Parasite is not going to be ready for this. Oh, that fungal.
No, nice fungal though, and all the voids. The other infestors must have spawned on different bases though, as some Banes go rolling into a single Archon on that bottom side. TLO's going to chase. I mean, honestly, these Hydras chasing like this are fantastic, and they're catching Archons. Another fungal came down, going to catch another one. I mean, these fungals are just doing not even like massive damage, but they're just keeping things in place. Finally, some Zealots break through though. Now the Hydras have to run away, and the Queens are going to show up into the fight. Yeah, it's one of those games, EG, where you just have to look at a fight sometimes and just have a little giggle about it, because honestly, none of that really made sense. We just saw Infestors holding off an army to only have Zealots show up like 10 minutes late and actually save the day. Wow.
Oh god, I don't know why it tickled me so much, but
it was a funky fight. It was fun.
It was. Yeah, so that happened, and now we're gonna continue talking about late game PVZ. So Noah Parasite is really cool.
Yeah.
And I maybe even really impactful. And Voiders against each other can be pretty brutal, but I wonder if he is maybe playing a little bit too fancy, right? Like infestors, are they really what you want? Their cost, they're being, they're very fragile units. 7 infestors when you're not even really on an economy where you're maxing out on the rest of your army. That's why I'm scared, is because TLO is on 6 bases doing whatever the hell he wants. He's on 4 trying to get to a 5th base, and a lot of his resources, a lot of his bank went into infestors that, I mean, theoretically they would help, almost guaranteed, but, not always. Sometimes those fungals don't really matter if it goes down to mass charge that Archon, or sometimes those neuroparasites don't hit.
I was actually going to say, like, it's almost like, by doing this, it almost feels like he should scare us sooner away. Hold that thought, because we actually see this fight's going to break out. Banes are rolling forward. No, we're going to disengage. I was going to say maybe, like, dissuades Asuna from going into, like, carriers and stuff, because he's like, oh my god, there's already infestors. And so then maybe he forces a ground army, but then as soon as like, no, actually I'm going to build carriers, which feels like it only benefits TLO having the infestors out already.
Yes. Weird path we're on here. Banelings do crash in to clean up the Zealots that were getting a little bit scary, but they only get 7 drones, so it's all right. More carriers being produced, more Stargates as well. Asuna securing his 4th with a lot of stack defense. I don't think a 5th is too far out of his reach either, which put him on even footing. Those infestors have burrow. There's, actually an Archon going over to TLO. Would have been nice splash damage, but I think only got 1 shot.
Yeah. Just gonna knock down this set of rocks. TLO trying. I mean, TLO really wants to keep it fighting, right? He's only on 61 drones. He's running out of time. If he doesn't do something to kind of start setting it back at home, the fungals have been amazing, CG. Like, people can get fungals like this every single time they cast it. Infestors would be used every game, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, exactly. That is the best way to put it. It's like, we're not really supposed to be like that. I think one thing that is missing right now from Asuna is an Oracle, just casting Revelation consistently. But everything else he's got Observers, which he almost stormed to death. Actually, they are going to die, so never mind about that. There's an evacuation plan for the infestors, but I guess not really. Microbial Drone is used! Yes! Didn't matter, but yes!
it's almost like the in-game GG button, right? It's like, I'm gonna drop Microbial, and I've lost, because that's how desperate I am right now.
Yeah, the infestors were stuck. They got actually surrounded by Zealots, so they could have burrowed. I guess it was too late anyway, it doesn't matter. But the fact that they just were like her last dying breath, orange goo across the map, yes, that'll help. It did not. An interesting game from both sides, and perhaps it was so interesting because both sides did what the other one didn't expect. TLO's like, what? Oh shoot, it's like a lot of Void Rays, okay. And Asuna was like, wait, what? It's infestors? Like, hold on here. That is eventually, I think, put Asuna in a better position as he was the more defensive, more kind of like macro setup, whereas TLO really was committing to more of a mid game. Yeah, he had 5 bases, but as you pointed out, 61 drones, a lot of his bank and infestors that are like your supporters, right? They're spellcasters, not going to usually cause the end of the game. And I guess there's always that potential with no Parasite and Fungal. It didn't quite live up to its true potential.
Fun start that just TLO didn't do enough with for what he wanted to do after. I think, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's sort of how these builds from TLO go. Like, either Ling Bane gets out of control and then he gets to kind of do what he wants, but then if it doesn't, well, you're behind because you just made a whole bunch of Ling Bane that didn't do anything, right? It's just logic. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what TLO brings up this time because, of course, last game also came off that cannon rush. It was a bit weird anyway, and maybe that just threw TLO off when he wanted to build stuff and how he wanted to build stuff. So it's something else to keep in mind.
Yeah, I really don't doubt that TLO has actually taken on some of the late game Protosses, the Protosses who try and go to the late game too quickly, and that's actually a build that is really well against them. You know, I have no doubt about that. The thing about TLO and anyone who has those kind of specific builds is that if it's not that just right scenario, or if the execution is a bit off, it looks really silly. But then it looks genius, like for instance him versus Neeb, which even Roddy and the Muslim brought up. Like if this lost, it looks stupid, but it won, so it looks like a genius. That is a lot of what TLO does. And in that case, it didn't look that great. It was cool, but it didn't look that great. It did kind of start off with his Lings not doing maybe as much as he would want, and then it truly started off with a cannon rush. We'll see if we have a similar game. As soon as already sent out a probe, so we'll see. Bottom right, down 1. He's the blue Zerg, TLO.
In the top left, red Protoss is Asuna.
A very fast probe going across the map, looking for that block. I mean, I guess if he really wants to use it as kind of an opener, then more power to him as far as like actually adding a cannon as well here. But you do usually kind of expect it to be a one-use thing in a best of 3. That's what I'm anticipating, but I'm just eagerly awaiting what that second structure is going to be.
Yeah. Give it a couple more moments, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be anything right. Still building probes, not really looking to get it down already. Okay, so just forcing TLO off to the 3rd hatch location for the initial base. Do you think this is just going to be... Do you think we have a good chance of this being Twilight and Enclaves, or do you think maybe we see some Stargate play again, and this is maybe just a bit of a mind game early?
I want it to be Adepts. I mean, even without the hatch block, pushing TLO onto his 3rd, a very, very uncomfortable place, very uncomfortable map. It just is one of those shorter maps. Everdream was our map last season that it was just like, well, people know about Adepts. Is it too obvious to go Adepts? Nah, Adepts are still good. And I could see Lightshade being a decent enough map to push that, even if it's too obvious. But TLO, with the way that he can open, a bit weirder. I guess it's got to be concerned about that. Wouldn't put it past him to do a Ling all in if he thought it was going to be Twilight Council. And now we're waiting for the warp gate to start, or not. Probe actually gets a second scout in here to see all the gas removed. That's nice.
Adept going to be chrono boosting out. Everything looking pretty normal. I'm glad we're going to get... Oh, Stargate comes down. I like that we just get a nice little regular game. Yeah, you know what? I want to see what these two do when we get to like the 5-minute mark without, there being a whole mess of stuff having happened. Lings and cannons and all of that. Because I kind of wonder how... I know so much of these two players kind of, they have some weirder play styles, right? But I always find it then interesting to kind of really... I couldn't really judge before the series started, like, how good TLO is versus how good Asuna is. And I don't think I can judge that based on how game number 1 went, because game number 1 just had so many weird twists and turns. I kind of like that I maybe get a bit of a better read on that, with how this game 2 is going.
Okay, well, we might get up to those 5 minutes and it's going to be normal, but I'm gonna bring it back to this conversation maybe around like 10 or 11 minutes and see where we're at, see how weird it's gotten or how much it's looking like it's going to be a 40-minute game. Because that is certainly what we're missing to end the NA group, to end today. Is a nice hour and a half long game. Oddly enough on Lightshade, that would be great.
Well, what do you mean? We're going to go to game 3 first, then it's on Yagana.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, that actually is true.
That's how we get there.
Yeah. I truly believe it, actually. All jokes aside, TLO can definitely take a game. It was just such an awkward start and fumble on both sides after that awkward start into just more awkward starts. I want to make a PG-13 analogy, but I'm not gonna. But it just is not the prettiest of games. And we'll see if this one's a lot cleaner, considering that it is both of them doing kind of what they want to right now, which is a couple of Void Rays for Asuna, and then TLO with a 4-minute layer here.
Yeah, quick laugh. What do you think? Could it be Hydras off the bat? I feel like that's, to me, maybe the most common thing off such a fast layer in ZVP. You just go like super fast Hydras and maybe like a Ling Hydra all in. It's a shorter map. He's already working on creep avenues for, you know, maybe Hydras to run across. And it is like an avenue of creep, right? Like it's not really pure enough in other directions. He's not worrying about creep in front of his natural. I'm kind of feeling, okay, there's a Roach roaring, so... That throws me off completely. but I'll roll with it still.
I do love. I was totally with you, man. A Hydra Queen bust here, especially with someone who has shown like they could do the multiple Void Ray thing. I know it didn't look so pretty for Lambo, but honestly, it should have looked prettier.
Yeah.
In fact, Lambo made a tweet saying, "I don't know how I couldn't just aim move that." Which, yeah. But with the Roach Warren, either that's a very convincing fake Roach Warren, or it's actually what he wants. So then, why like a particularly fast layer?
I think
faster layer.
I think he just wants Roach speed right away, and maybe even still with that idea of being aggressive, just the Roach Horn wasn't quite at the right time. This is my current best guess.
Yeah, I think you're right. Spawning pool as a target's always a little bit funny, but do consider that it's going to be no more Queen production or Spore Crawler production until that's rebuilt. Queen's getting actually on top of Void Ray, getting it awfully low, not going to get the kill. And actually Adept's getting into that third. A couple of Lings are available, but I don't know if that's enough.
Yeah. Queens from the high ground? Wow. This unit, man. They're literally in a different base and they still reach zombie grub.
That did not do as much damage as I thought. I mean, yeah, a lot of Lings, I guess, had to be cleaned up, but what is that? No drones went down? No drones. All right.
Yeah. That's funny. All right, Hydra now comes in, obviously TLO recognizing, okay, Void Rays. I like this. Doesn't mess around with the Spire like you did last time. And that might actually be something to mention as well. Like, so much of what TLO did is maybe slowed down by the fact he wasted money on, you know, Aspire and then 3 Corruptors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's something else. You do see these Queens pushing through the center. So definitely looking to bring a bit of aggression forward. It felt like this was always the plan, right? That creep highway and all the rest of it. Now he's kind of got to wait for Hydras, but he's kind of going already. It's... yeah. I'm not sure. As soon as already got shield batteries on the way up, more Void Rays coming in, and I mean, if you fight any of these shield batteries, I'm not sure this is going to go so well for you, TLO. As single force field comes down initially, those Queens are just not quite close enough yet for Asuna to say, right, let's go for this.
It's a bit of an awkward timing. It's like it's getting ahead of itself. It's like...
yeah, he's waiting for the Hydras. How often are the Queens here first, you know?
Yeah, so...
basically never.
All right. Well, ideally for Asuna, he takes on one battle and then the other, right? And ideally it's the Roaches first, and then later on when he has more of those ground units to support, or just more Void Rays, honestly, he can take on the Queens and then transfuses. The Hydra is going to have their speed, so they're going to get here pretty quickly with the creep start as well, but they're not going to have their range for quite some time. That could really impact the game. Lots of Void Rays available. Overcharge on the shield battery. That's 9 Void Rays against 11 Hydras and 10 Queens. But the shield batteries, that's what's really going to change it up.
Yeah, shield batteries are going to be a big determining factor in this. He's just trying to pick away at some of that Queen energy already. It's getting awkward because now you've got Roaches and Hydras breaking through into the natural, so you're going to start running into some issues there. Now they're going to turn back around. Apparently they didn't like it in the natural. I mean, I felt like that was a perfect build. When you get through, you get some probe kills. Turns around, just going to kill off the Cyber Core for the moment. Is there a point where this becomes a bit too much and Asuna can kind of pull the trigger? So far, doesn't seem like it. I feel like he could have maybe gone when it was just the Queens earlier, you know? I know he didn't have as many voids and stuff then, but I feel like he could have forced more transfusions already. And that might have helped then with this later stage, as now Ravage is morphing in. TLO is still fully fledged into this attack, and there's just more and more Void Rays joining the fray.
I also really would have loved Charge starting, you know, kind of like as the fight started even. I know he had to allocate minerals really precisely, but he does have a Twilight Council. He could have maybe started up Charge, 100, maybe would have been worth it. The Void Rays are covered by a couple of shield batteries. Got a Guardian Shield as well, really helping out against his composition. A couple Force Fields, yep, at the last second, grabbing a couple more Hydras and a Queen. Pushing, I guess, TLO off temporarily from that high ground, but with no detection. That creep is still alive and well there, and even a Spore Crawler comes forward.
I mean, why
Yes.
not, honestly? But the thing is, Asuna shouldn't be fighting there anyway. He should be fighting a bit further, like, close to the batteries all of the time. I feel like Asuna was starting to get into a position where this is absolutely a hold. I'm a little bit worried about him starting to take some of these fights still, though. I know he's got cannons and batteries and stuff to back him up. He should have a super battery again at some point, right? I mean, he casted that a long time ago, so something to think about is some corrosive bars almost hit us through the face, coming through our screen. And Asuna, still about 30 army supply down. It was kind of, the gap was kind of closing, but kind of felt like he didn't quite, like he started to take a fight and he didn't have the backup he needed, so the Void Rays went down a little bit.
Yeah. That's the thing is, I think he's missing the backup. He's actually been banking. Every time I've looked, when I mentioned that charge, it was like, you have enough, though. Maybe more shield batteries could have been placed, as he actually was still keeping them from his third, but it's probably too late now. He's taking some losses on top of the Void Rays too, from 9 down to 6. Only 1 Archon, 1 Zealot supporting that. And TLO, he's only on 3 bases, but he has plenty to continue reinforcing with. Nothing's really going to change for Asuna.
No, that's really not, is it? At this point, there's just not enough, I don't think. He gets a couple Archons out, but too little too late. Like, where's the support that you need? You've lost the 3rd base. That's going to go down. The only way you win this is you win the fight with an overwhelming amount of Void Rays left, so you can fly across the map and, continue to overwhelm and win the game. That isn't happening with this amount of Hydras. It felt like he, waited and waited, and then he wasn't waiting for anything to get better, because he's getting more Void Rays, but there's also more Hydras on the way. And then maybe if he was waiting for charge, I could get it, but then he wasn't waiting for anything that was actually gonna be the answer. So
Yep. Yeah, he was building up Void Rays pretty consistently, but nothing else to support them. Even when he started to bank a little bit, he was having trouble even building enough Zealots, and they weren't even charged. GG, TLO uses the shortness of light shade to get across the map. Started off with roaches, maybe could have gone right into Hydras, but nitpicking. It did work. It does even up the match score, and that means we are going to go to a game 3 after the break. The last map of the last series of the day, guys. Asuna versus TLO tied up 1-1 and going into, you know what, Jagannatha. I can't remember how to say it. Into Jagannatha. It's game 3. And this has been a map we've talked about previously as being pretty good for the style Asuna is showing. So is this going to be an Asuna victory, Wardy, or a TLO one?
TLO, because I predicted TLO 2-0, and it's going to be basically 2-0 if you forget the first map.
That's how that would work, yes.
Yes, it would.
Yes, thank you
2-0,
for that
won
one.
2 in a row, just lost the first game before it was 2-0.
Yep. Thanks for that one.
No worries, anytime.
Yeah,
I'm here for the rest of the night, CG.
The rest of the 30 minutes here. On the bottom left is the red Protoss for Alpha X. He is Asuna.
Did you just spoil how long this game's going to be for me?
Yes.
Can't believe it. Top right-hand side, our Blue Zerg player, TLO.
Maybe the game will only be 15, but then Kalaris will just keep us on for the after show or exit show or whatever we call it.
Talks and talks and
He
talks.
just talks and talks.
And what do you think about the 14th player in Group A? And I'm like, well, he's like, do you remember the match 3 days ago? I'm like, no. He's like, we'll watch the VOD and discuss.
Analyze. Oh, what a brilliant segment that would be. We should include that. I think the production would really appreciate it too.
You say that, and it sounds like a great idea until next season we show up, and it's like, oh, what have we done?
Yes, I am positive they will include it. So to make sure, I see all of you guys in Europe being up until the crack of dawn. That's what we truly want from our StarCraft people. If you're not casting StarCraft until 6 in the morning, are you passionate?
Or they just make you start earlier.
I'm actually fine with that. I'm surprised.
Well, it's not so bad for you on East Coast, is it?
No, it's not.
You have it pretty good, actually, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I'm living the high life, man. I start at noon. I mean, it's still an insanely long broadcast, but I start at noon and I don't end, at 4 in the morning with you guys. So, privileged.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair for most things, I think EU is actually a pretty good time zone, especially UK, because we get to be like, an hour earlier. So even for me, it's just gone midnight, right? Which isn't so bad. I think UK's got it best. The only thing UK really sucks for is casting NA stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, who cares about that as we cast NA stuff?
I gave up on that a couple of years ago until DreamHack wrote me in.
Oh, no.
Well, I did used to do all the NA qualifiers, but nowadays, you might notice I don't.
Ah, that's true.
It's
Which
because-
leads me to being
it's
top of the list.
Well, exactly, because there's loads of other wonderful commentators that stood up and started actually casting the qualifiers, so I don't need to stay up all night anymore.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
So to sum up, I have saved Wardy's casting career.
I don't know how we got there, but sure.
This is the last game of the day. So now's the time to bring out all the stops, man. It's not just the last game of the day, it's like back to the beginning of the pre-show. You said it best. Both of these guys have to win to have any hope in the group. I mean, Asuna's in like the worst position, yes, but it's not exactly great. TLO goes to what, 1-4, is it? 1-3 or 1-4. So very stressful times right now. And then you have two very not different games entirely, because it is still a Void Ray based game from Asuna, and we gotta kind of just predict he'll do it again here. But as far as the executions, as far as the abuse of the map, right, very different. Certainly won't have a similar light shade build coming out from TLO on Jagana.
Stop. Just say Jagannatha. Just because this one guy made the StarCraft post, we don't have to keep trying.
Yeah, that guy's influenced us so much.
He's out there smiling that you tried.
Yeah. That's the thing, though, is that's exactly what I predicted. I'm going to get my little, head pat from the people who know. And they're like, oh, you tried. You kind of suck at it, though. Just like when I try and say croissant. And then the French are like, stop it. And everyone else is like, what are you doing?
I mean, that makes me question what you're saying as well, so, I can appreciate that.
Je voudrais croissant.
Oh, wow, your French is awful.
If you're gonna try and like mimic French, right? As an American, you just have to give people the really bad American French. You can't actually try. It's all about entertainment, man.
All right. Well, what's actually happening in this game is EG. A lot of what we've seen before, right? Bane Nest from TLO, kind of back to game 1 in that regard. Void Rays from Asuna, no surprises there.
Right.
It's been it's just been more of the same. And we're going to see TLO start an expected melee upgrade, I feel. And Asuna starts up an expected second Stargate. Obviously, I feel like some people out there are like, but what's happening in the game? Literally what we've seen earlier. So it'll be cool to see the changes made, especially from TLO, because he didn't win with this style earlier, right? So I'm interested to see what TLO changes to make a, this third map work out for him.
Right. So it is a very similar setup to the first game, except you don't have the awkward bunch of lings that didn't do very much. In fact, these lings being made right now are just kind of a response to the Adepts. I think the Baneley Nest was also a little bit later. I didn't really need it, and he wasn't going to use it, so I thought, like, oh, it could have been delayed. And then there's hopefully not going to be an awkward Spire as he figures out and predicts as soon as you do the same thing.
These Adepts got kind of caught over here. They maybe get a Queen. Queen's going running. It's going to survive. I mean, this happened in the last game as well. Adepts jumped in on the third and nothing really happened. So, yeah, not so hot there. As we're going to be seeing the +1 melee coming through. I think TLO on his way to a lair now. That's my only concern. That maybe the lair's a bit late, so then the Hydra Den isn't super quick. It's not even necessarily late. It's not quick, right? So then you're talking about a long time until Hydras are really set up. So maybe a little while where these Voids are annoying, but yeah, I mean, basically just Voids being annoying more than anything else. So
yeah, I actually kind of like the later layer. You didn't really need it. So as an emergency, he doesn't need the Hydras right now to respond to the Void Rays, but instead he can get his feet under him. He can get 4 bases saturated with 76 drones he's going up to, and then later on it's going to be a more powerful blow. So, that's typically what you want to do with Zerg, kind of like really, go one way or another and never kind of halfway on both. And yes, sometimes it makes a lot of sense to cut like he did last game for the all-in, but this one, I actually like the later but more powerful attack with Baneling Hydra. Or at least theoretically I do. It's going to be kind of the first time we see kind of just that calm setup, and it is going to be a Spire, but I mean, it's a different economic situation than that first game, right? But is that Spire still really...
I still don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. Is it necessary now? I guess is more what I'm questioning. You do your Baneling Hydra thing, and then you go into Spire later on? Okay.
And now he puts the Hydra Den down. I don't get it. Like the Spire maybe once carriers come up and stuff, like maybe you just need it. But that's like late game when you can afford like 20 plus Corruptors.
Right.
Right now, the Hydras are the answer because it's Void Rays. So, yeah, I will not lie, I don't get the Spire. Last time he made like 3 Corruptors, right? So, yeah, last time he made 3 Corruptors, and I was kind of like, well, were they maybe intentional to try and drag Void Rays around by like causing strain somewhere? Let's see what he does with it, because it's obviously intentional. I'm very interested if TLO can come up with something.
He's got enough to build like 9 Corruptors. Oh, never mind. He built Hydras. That's why he's recalling. There are Lings and Banelings in that natural base. Probes are going down. I guess they crashed through the Zealot in the wall is what happened. So there's going to be a decent amount of probe damage.
There's a lot of probe damage. Already 15. It pulls everything back to you, right? And now there's Mutas on the way, ZG.
Wow.
Mutas.
That is a bold choice. It's not the craziest thing. It's almost like, gosh, I don't know, going for a medevac, Widowmine drop against Phoenix. Like theoretically it's not supposed to work because they can respond to this with double pumped Phoenix. But, well, one, they have to scout it. They have to actually know like where it is or if it's even on the way. And that's something that Asuna doesn't know, right? Like the Spire was in the natural and he didn't get there. He had to recall first away from the third base. This is going to do a decent amount of damage to begin with. And then I think once they've done the damage, you move back into Hydras.
Yeah, I get it. I just wonder if like a lot of the time the Mutas just in this sort of number the Voids can do okay against them. With the fact that the Void's already up and so on, they can chase Valley okay. I don't know, gets in here, gets a cannon, and we'll start to get some probes. The Stalkers warp in. At the same time, Hydra Bane is pushing ZG, and a good little split from TLO, making sure there's not a good target there. And these Mutas are just overwhelming in the main base. My goodness, 17 workers already.
Yeah, I think he thought he would need the Voiders on the front line, so he was a bit late to the response. And then realizing, oh, I don't have to. I mean, Muta's just they're gonna do damage pretty quickly, even with that cannon trying to buy some time. The probes are actually really pulled away, and this has been a very powerful blow. TLO can now go into those Hydras like I was talking about. He's gonna have upgrades for them as well. He is on going 5 bases, 78 drones. So he's got this playground to work with, right? That was what was so weird about the first game is that he was playing around with like infestors, and that was really cool. And I'm sure there's like a cool timing he has in other games, but it was all off this very low economy, very dedicated, very odd. This makes so much sense. This looks like such cleaner Zerg play, and while it was risky to include those mutas, they have done their job.
Yeah, no, they absolutely did. I will not lie. I will still go back and say I was not a believer, but they did way better than I ever thought they would. And right now, that +2 Baneling force is going to do so much. And Asuna just does not have an economy to keep this up. I mean, 37 probes currently in the game. There's eventually going to be just one large straight-up attack that's just going to overwhelm and win this out. And until then, TLO is just going to keep on dropping and doing TLO kind of things.
It is so funny though, because it's such a low supply, but it's like 50 of it is in those workers. As soon as he's going to try and do something, well, I guess TLO has a decent chunk of supply back at his home base, almost like a base trade, but this probably isn't going to go any better. TLO could afford to lose a base if he really had to. But he absolutely does not have to. The Voiders are recall to try and deal with this, which they will with the help of a couple of Zealots being warped in. But the rest of Asuna's army, the High Templars, the Ragtag group of Stalkers and Zealots, that gets cleaned up. The Archons will eventually fall as well. And that was Asuna's one chance to put the pressure on TLO, and that did not work out. And while Asuna has 4 Nexus, he definitely isn't mining off those 4 Nexus, not completely.
Nope. I mean, this is a nice cleanup over on this side, but 4 bases, 43 probes, and TLO coming forward with an army again. The only thing I wonder about is it's only really like 5 Void Rays now, but there's still also only 11 Hydras, so it's almost like there's not quite enough anti-air to properly get rid of the Void Rays, which is obviously interesting.
That's kind of a funny thing that can happen. Like if you start to try and break down the Protoss, and then you underestimate their air, so in this case Void Rays, it can sometimes turn into a very frustrating loss, but it had to be a pretty extreme scenario. Like TLO would really have to throw 10 Hydras at a time into a storm, you know? and that's where Asuna would come back. But only 5 Void Rays, only 0 more storms after that. Banelings took care of it.
Yeah.
TLO just rallies across the map. Just gotta wait for his Hydras to come through.
Yeah, it's still the Hydras. He's kind of winning with so few of them. There's one on the low ground that's kind of helping out. I mean, it's eventually going to be a TLO victory. And a couple of queens showing up like these Hydras, they're just not getting the job done. They're going to come across. He knew it was going to be faster to walk queens across Jagannath than to just get enough Hydras up to close this out.
Yeah. And this is actually a fine time to start adding in Corruptors. TLO on 88 workers has a lot of economy. And while he doesn't have a bank quite yet, he could go into Corruptors. He could add on Vipers, which is what he's doing. He could wait until he's maxed out. And that's probably the smartest thing you would do right now. Maybe a bit of harassment here and there, but then maybe wait till you're maxed out, just in case Asuna somehow has a miracle hold. We know the scenario. We know that it's over 100 supply difference, or close to it, I should say, but you know, you never know as a Zerg. What if he's got like 5 High Templars in his back pocket?
Yeah. Meanwhile, Banelings continue to roll around bases. And I mean, I'm surprised Asuna still has probes to be killed at this stage.
Oh, God.
Oh. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, now it's 100 supply difference.
Yeah, now it really is. And it's going to be a little bit more as probes. I mean, you don't actually have anywhere to run, so you got to keep moving. GG. That was enough.
Yeah.
The Void Rays are